So during the last class, we stopped. I am pretty sure that we stopped at number 6. So we are going over the definition and the meaning behind the numbers 1 through 10 in ancient Arabic numerology. Now remember that most regions in the world have their own version of numerology. And right now, we are studying a lot of anthropology and a lot of paleontology that has to do with different cultures and the first records of their mythology. And in the Middle East, specifically in ancient Arabia, we have found some of the oldest records in history of numerology. And right now, to our understanding, we think that numerology as a whole and as a form of mysticism began in India and ancient Arabia. So today we are studying numerology and the way that it is taught in ancient Arabia. So some of the things that you see in this class are going to be very, very different from a lot of the numerology that we hear about in the Western world. And that is because a lot of the numerology that we hear about in the Western world, if you do live in the West, stems from the Roman Empire and how the Roman Empire kind of appropriated a lot of the numerology from the Middle East and changed it a little bit. That's not necessarily a bad thing. There are no records of them like stealing it in a evil or malicious way. It just made its way across the world because the Silk Road and a lot of the trading routes from India and the Middle East, people spoke and people talked and people shared their cultures, and they shared numerology with a lot of the traders who were trading from Europe, and they were trading with the Middle East and India. And a lot of this mysticism and a lot of numerology got spoken about, and it made its way through Europe. And when it made its way into Europe, a lot of the symbolism got slightly changed. For example, in ancient Arabic numerology, you are not going to find that the number 3 has any huge, gigantic, mystical meaning that is any more important than the other numbers. Whereas in a lot of European numerology, you are going to find numbers that are either considered angel numbers or that are considered very sacred and that are much, much more powerful than a lot of other numbers. You don't find as much of that in numerology that comes from India and that comes from ancient Arabia. The number 3 is not the Holy Trinity. It is not the maiden, the mother, and the crone. It is not the phases of the moon. It is not the symbol for God. It is not any of those things. The number 3 is not any more significant than the number 4. And so those are there are going to be very significant differences that you will notice between ancient Arabic numerology and how it got changed and how the interpretations changed as it moved through Europe. So we ended on the number 6. Exactly, Vincent, exactly. I love the way you put that, but yeah, exactly. So the number 6, if you were there for our previous class where we discussed the number 3, don't worry, I will go back and we will review. But for now, I want to kind of continue where we left off just so we can get through all the numbers, and then we'll go back and review. So the number 3 is a symbol for personal accomplishment. It is something that you accomplished, whether that be mentally, physically, emotionally, whether that be wisdom, intelligence, intellect, mental health. It is something that you accomplished mostly on your own, and that gives you a lot of independent and personal accomplishment, something that you can say that you did and you worked hard for and you did mostly by yourself, and it is a personal accomplishment. And also, there are so many things within that. Like when we talk about emotional accomplishment, it can even be things like making a friend, which is why the number 3 is a lot of times associated with friendship and with even things like happiness and joy, is because for a lot of people, especially if we are talking about ancient indigenous people who are indigenous to ancient Arabia, happiness would be a goal. Joy is a goal. And it's an accomplishment that you accomplished and that you should feel personal pride for accomplishing. Same thing with friendship, even things like harvest, food, things like not being hungry. Those things are all represented by the number 3. Any personal joy, personal accomplishment, and things that you completed and did and worked hard for on your own. Now, the number 6 is a very, very similar number, and you can see it as 2 3s coming together. And the number 6 is represented by group accomplishment. It is teamwork. And so a lot of times when I teach this and I give the example, the number 3 is if you decided to apply for college, you got in and you got an A in your first class. Most of those things you pretty much accomplished due to your hard work and your perseverance. You got into school, the school that you wanted to get into, and you got an A in your first class. The number 6 would be graduating with a degree. Because to graduate with a degree, you need tons and tons and tons of professors. You need your study group. You need the guy at the cafe who sold you coffee at 4 o'clock in the morning so you could cram for your finals. You needed the friend who let you look at the homework. You need the friend that sat with you and helped you study all night. You probably also, depending on who you are, needed financial aid. You probably needed, whatever it was, there was probably a lot of people that came in to help you to get that degree. It does not mean that it is not still something that you should be proud of, something that you did, but there was a lot of team effort involved. And so the number 6 is still accomplishment. It is even still known as friendship and joy and happiness. But it is friendship and joy and happiness that happened because of a group of people. And because it is a reminder that we need others, that you cannot accomplish absolutely everything on your own. You need the other people around you. And whether that be random strangers, such as professors who helped you to graduate and to help you study and helped you learn, or whether that be your own little chosen family that you grew and created and that helped you to become the person that you are today, whether that be your born into family and the family that you were born into that helped you to succeed, whatever it is, we cannot succeed in life alone. And when we talk about a lot of the symbolism that these numbers originated with, things such as harvest, food, hunger, thirst, architecture, once again, and shelter, and all these things also require other people around you. You are not going to be able to harvest all of the food for a community on your own. You are not going to be able to create shelter and a beautiful home and feed yourself for years and have all of the things that you need to survive all by yourself. You could, but it's you probably don't want to. And so the number 6 reminds us that we need each other. And you can go ahead and read the paragraph that I wrote about the number 6. When we are looking at these numbers and we look at what it means when I say that it's imbalanced and upside down. So the number 6, all numbers have a balanced form and an imbalanced form. And one way that we see this highlighted, especially from Middle Eastern culture, is when we look at tarot. For those of you who don't know, the minor arcana within tarot came from the Middle East. And when we look at tarot, you read cards upside down and right side up. That is one way of looking at the balanced form and the imbalanced form of a number. There are many, many different forms of divination where you look at both the balanced form and the imbalanced form of the number. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say the words upside down, or I say imbalanced or balanced. It is just the balanced form of the number and the imbalanced form of the number, or the right side up or inverted sign of the number. And they both mean different things. It is not always that right side up is good and upside down is bad. It is not always that balanced is good and imbalanced is bad. Remember that we all need imbalance. We all need chaos. Chaos is required for all life on the planet Earth. And you can go into things like chaos theory and things like that, but in reality, chaos, darkness, things that we would consider to be not as pleasurable are all just a part of the world. Same thing with numerology. An imbalanced number doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means it's imbalanced. And a balanced number does not mean that it's good. It just means that it's balanced. And I really encourage you, while you learn about numerology, to take out this idea that something is bad or something is good. Because especially in numerology, all aspects of the number are needed. All aspects of the number are important, and all aspects of the number are required to truly embrace and feel the different energies and powers that exist within the numbers when using them for divination work. So, when we talk about the balanced form of the number 6, it is that along with the help of others, you worked hard to achieve a common goal, either through emotions, actions, ideas, or finances, and etc. When it is balanced, you will achieve the goal that you set out to do. You and the others around you will rejoice in the fruits of your labor. When it is imbalanced, however, you will likely not reach the goal, which can happen even if you put in all the work, but luck took over and it's no one's fault. Or it could be because you or others didn't work hard enough towards the goal. 6 is about teamwork and community, bringing people together, working towards something to achieve a goal, especially when alone they would be unable. With the thoughts, hearts, and minds of many, you can conquer anything. We are all pieces of a larger puzzle. So remember too that, like I said, not accomplishing the goal is not necessarily bad at all. It's if you accomplish something and the number 6 is balanced and you accomplished your goal that you set out to with the group of people that you set out to accomplish it with, that is wonderful. And that teaches you a beautiful lesson. Not accomplishing the goal and failing also teaches you just as important of a lesson. Neither one is good or bad. It just is. And they both have a beautiful and incredible lesson to teach you, about the others around you, and about the life that you're trying to build for yourself and for others. I'm going to read the chat to see if there are questions. So, okay, does so Natalia, I feel like I saw you last time, but oh yeah, you said you were at the first class. Awesome. So remember that I do teach a tarot class, and that during the tarot class we can totally talk about all the different tarot meanings, but this class is specifically just numerology. But the 6 of Pentacles reversed would be more of, so Pentacles is a symbol of earth, and the symbol of earth is all things that, when we talk about tarot, in tarot, earth and pentacles are a symbol for all the things that you can touch, all the things that exist around you, including the trees and the plants, as well as your house and your car and your clothes and your pets and your family and your money and your job. All of those things are represented by pentacles. So the Six of Pentacles reversed would just mean that there was a goal that you and a group of people set out to accomplish in the real sense, like in the real earthly world, something that had to do with your job, something that had to do with your family or your home or your pets, and it did not come to fruition. And you do not get to appreciate the fruits of your labor, and that you should possibly go back to the drawing board and see what happened and learn from this. And maybe even that was something that you didn't even really want to do, and maybe figure out what it is that you actually want to do, or figure out what went wrong. Figure out what happened with your motivation or your perseverance, or was it just luck and you got unlucky and all you need to do is try again? And that would be a very basic definition of the upside down Six of Pentacles. But anyway, so yes, I love Captain Picard. But yeah, exactly. Sometimes you can do everything right and still lose, which is why I mentioned that, yeah, sometimes it's just luck. Sometimes that's really all it is, and it has absolutely nothing to do with you. You did everything right, and sometimes it's just luck. So, something that you'll also notice, I do want to let you guys know it's totally fine. I don't care if you do it, but if you do click on the annotate button at the top of the screen, when you draw, that shows up for everybody. So these two little green lines that were drawn shows up for everybody, just so you know. I don't mind if you draw on the screen, but I'm just letting you know. So, number 7, you will notice with all of these numbers, something that is kind of special to Arabic numerology is that all the numbers flow into each other. And you will really notice that, especially when you start at 1. Because every single number flows into the next, including 10. 10 flows back into 1. And I'm going to show you that as we move through the numbers, how every single number flows into the next, which actually makes it very easy to not just memorize this, because I don't want you to just memorize this. I want you to truly gain an understanding of the numbers so that you can even come up with your own intuitive definitions for these numbers instead of just kind of memorizing my definitions. And you can truly understand what the number means at its core so that you can create your own definitions. And realizing how the numbers flow into one another is a really easy way to start to gain your own understanding rather than just memorizing. So the number 7 represents the path that you're on in life, the path that you have chosen to take, whether that be the emotional path, the spiritual path, the career path, the educational path, the any path that you have decided to take in life. 7 comes up when we need to hear if a certain path that we are taking is the right one. Whether it's an emotional journey, an earthly venture, a list of activities, or a mental pathway. This card tells us if the path is going to have a positive or negative impact on our lives. Now, remember, I really hate using those words, but with the number 7, I do use them. You will hardly ever hear me use the words positive or negative because they end up getting a weird reputation where a lot of people think that you should just like take all of the negative out of your life all the time. That is not true. That'll end badly. Okay. We need the negative to learn and to grow and to become better people and to become wiser. The negative is important. But the number 7 is very distinct and very clear when it comes to its imbalanced and balanced form. Its balanced form is that you are on a path that will make you happy. And remember that all of these numbers are very personal. If the number 7 comes up balanced for you, meaning that you are on a path that is the correct one for you, that doesn't mean that it would be the right path for someone else. We are not talking about a universally positive path. We are not even talking about a universally moral path in any way, shape, or form. A right side up 7 would still come up for a serial killer if he enjoyed killing people and it was making him happy and he was on the path that made him feel the best about himself and his life. And it would still come up positive. So the balanced 7 and the imbalanced 7 do not have anything to do with moral justice or with positivity or light or love or anything like that. It is just, will this path make you feel successful? Will it make you feel happy? Will it make you feel like it is worth going down this path and seeing where it ends? Is it fulfilling for you personally? And does it make you feel joy? And not only that, will it teach you the lessons that you need to learn? Will it help you grow as a person? Will it help you become the person that you want to be? That is the balanced 7. And the imbalanced 7 is, this path will not make you feel fulfilled. It will not make you feel happy, and it'll not make you feel joy. And we need those paths just as much as we need the paths that make us feel joy. Because the paths that we go down in life that end in really awful things, or things that just are awful to us and don't make us feel joy and don't make us feel successful and don't make us feel fulfilled and make us feel really crappy and awful, a lot of times, either, number 1, those turn into amazing stories to tell at parties, or also they tend to teach you a very important lesson. Think about all the things, all the imbalanced 7s that probably happened between your ages of 12 and 18. And all the fun paths that you went down that now you look back at and you're like, oh, why did I do that? That was so cringy and awful. Those are imbalanced 7s. But it was really important that you experienced that imbalanced 7. It was really important that you experienced that in life. And it led you to finding what your balanced 7 is. Because if we don't know what makes us upset, if we don't know what makes us angry or what makes us cry or what ends badly for us or what relationship paths that we do not want to go down ever again, if we don't know that, then we don't have any wisdom and we don't get to know ourselves. And it becomes really difficult to find the paths that we do like, that will make us feel happy, that will make us feel loved and secure and successful and fulfilled. It's really difficult to find that if you have never found the path that makes you feel like shit. So, yeah, both paths, very important. But yes, the number 7 represents the path that you're on. Balanced will make you feel fulfilled. Imbalanced, make you feel a little shitty. Both are important. Exactly. We need to know what we don't want. It's very important. It's just as important as knowing what we do want. At least for me personally, I find it very difficult in life sometimes to find out what I do want without first making 500 mistakes and finding out that that's not what I want. I feel that that's something that a lot of people can relate to, especially in relationships. I feel like you have to kind of realize what you don't want in another person before you can kind of figure out what you do want in another person. And the same thing goes when I say relationships, I don't even just mean like romance. I mean, it took me a lot of backstabby, horrible friends to figure out what I want in a friend. It took me a lot of people taking advantage of me, a lot of people being horrible, terrible friends to find out what I do want in a friend. And that is also represented by 7. So does anybody have any questions about the number 6 or the number 7? So, okay, so to answer your question, Honey. So Honey asked, so both balanced and unbalanced paths will ultimately lead to the same end, but different things learned. Is that kind of what you asked? I think you made a typo, which is totally cool, but like
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I meant just like if 7 just means the path you're on, one will be happy, one will be bad or kind of crappy, but both will wind you to the same place with different things learned for what you need at the time.
No. So both will lead you to very, very different places. The imbalanced path will lead you somewhere that sucks. It is like the path that you take with a friend and you head down the path and you guys become besties and they end up stabbing you in the back and being a horrible friend, and then you're left crying and upset, and but you learned that all the characteristics that made them a shitty friend are things you don't want in a friend. That is something you learned. The balanced 7 would mean, you made besties with a person, you headed down a path of friendship with them, and things ended really well. And 10 years later, you're still besties and you support each other and you have a really wonderful, supportive friendship.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but both taught you something. One, you ended up with an amazing supportive friend, and that comes with a lot of lessons and a lot of beautiful things. And the imbalanced 7 and the shitty friend also taught you wonderful things, but you also learned that you no longer want to be friends with that person anymore, and your mental health is probably not awesome after that. So you learn great lessons with both, but they lead to very different places and very different lessons. And task failed successfully. I love that. Task failed successfully, I would say, is actually probably represented by a balanced 5. But we'll get there. I'm going to go backwards after we get to 10 so that we can kind of review the other numbers and you'll see what I mean. Task failed successfully, probably a balanced 5, or I could say an imbalanced 6, because the task would be failed, but you might have learned that it's a good thing that you failed and you didn't want to do that anyway. And that's what I'm saying, that they don't mean positive or negative. It says it doesn't mean good or bad, because if you have an imbalanced 6, but let's say that the imbalanced 6, you wanted this job. You really, really wanted this job. So you worked your ass off to get this job and you failed. Task failed. But you realize a year later that job was actually really awful. You didn't want that. That was not what you wanted to do anyway. So task failed successfully. You didn't really want that anyway. So you're glad that you failed. And no, so once again, like I said in the beginning of this class, so Andrea asked, is 7 a lucky number? So as I mentioned in the beginning of this class, when numerology went from ancient Arabia into Europe via trade routes and people talking and also war. I'm not going to say that there was no war. Also war. But when numerology went from the Middle East into Europe, a lot of things got changed. One of those things was the holy trinity of the number 3 and making it this big, holy, extreme number that means God and or the goddess or any the maiden, the mother, and the crone, any of those things. The number 3 got changed. The number 7 also got changed and turned into a lucky number, the lucky number 7. And the numerology and history and mythology of the number 7 has a very different history once it reaches Europe. But in ancient Arabia, no, it was not considered a lucky number. There are lucky numbers that we're going to talk about, but it's lucky in a different way. It's not a European kind of lucky. And we'll talk about what I mean by that. European culture in, 2,000 years ago, 3,000, like 3,000 years ago, a lot of, they really, really enjoyed creating very, very special, godly, lucky numbers, whereas in ancient Arabia, it was more based on the very special people and what people had done with these numbers. It was kind of that way as well in Europe, but they definitely put a lot of emphasis on the number itself and how you can, use the lucky number 7, and 7 in itself is lucky. Whereas it wasn't quite like that in ancient Arabia. The number itself would not have had any luck or significance attached to it in that way. So, easy answer. No, not in the type of numerology we're learning right now. So the combination of 3 and 4, I would say that the number 3 and 4 put together. So you would have personal accomplishment mixed with routine and structure. Honestly, I would say the numbers 3 and 4 mixed together would just be like type A personality. Honestly. That just reminds me of somebody who has like a very, very, very extremely rigid routine, and that helps them to be able to accomplish all of the things, and that they're that, the person that's, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I go on a 17-mile run, and then I eat super, super, super healthy, and I have a super, super strict diet routine, and I have a like extremely strict rules and structure for my life, which helps me to be personally successful, would be the mix of 3 and 4 in ancient Arabic numerology. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Vincent. That's a really, really cool observation, and I completely agree. Yeah. Okay. So, yes, honey. I noticed, honey.
Sorry.
Oh no, thank you.
I'm just going to give up typing. I don't type fast well or well. Dang it, mouth is not working today either. Great. You'll probably cover this later on, but what would 17 be if 1 is personal accomplishment and 7 is path you're taking?
So there would be 2 ways to look at the number 17. And that is what's so interesting about numerology from India and ancient Arabia, is because it's, once again, not looked at the same way as European numerology. European numerology, the number 17 has a lot of mythology to it. There's a lot of meaning to the number 17, and usually that meaning is tied to the numbers 1 and 7 together. Now, in ancient Arabic numerology, you can do that. You could just put the number 1 and the number 7 together. And then the number 17, which is done, especially in India, would just be the beginning of a new path in life. Which actually, the fact that you brought up the number 17, it's actually a very cohesive number. The number 1 and the number 7 go together very, very well. It would be the beginning of new ideas, the beginning of new actions, the beginning of a new house, a new car, a new job, and that is leading you down a new path in life that you are extremely motivated and excited for. And that would be the representation of the number 17 if you looked at it that way. Now, in a lot of ancient Arabic writings and literature, instead of looking at it that way, it's looked at more of 10 and 7 would be 17. Because you are looking at, once again, for those of you who don't know, the Middle East is where things like algebra came from, and where a lot of the very first mathematicians were. And when you look at their numerology, especially when we get above the number 10, you can tell that there's a lot more math involved. In Europe, it would always be 1 and 7 put together. In the Middle East, they liked mathy more. And so it would be 10 plus 7, because that is the actual 17. And you have the 10s place and the 1s place, and 10 and 7. So 17 would be the end of your path would be represented by the number 17, because 10 is the representation of not only being completely finished, but ready to start something new. And 7 is, of course, like we just learned, the number for the path that you're on in life. So the number 17 would represent being finished and done with the path that you started, and not only completely done, but that you will never take that path ever again. And the number 17 a lot of times is represented by old age, because you will never again in your life ever have the opportunity to ever go down that path ever again.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is there a particular better way to look at it?
I would say if you're focusing on ancient Arabic numerology, look at it as 10 and 7 being 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. No, you are not way off the mark, Paul. Yes, and that is actually something that you just went all the way to like class number 7. Class number, probably like class number 5. But yes, so you can totally look at it that way. Exactly. And that is one of the ways to read dice, is instead of looking at it as a 2 and reading the 2 and then reading the 5 and then reading the 10, instead you would just look at it as the number 17. So if you rolled 3 dice and you got a 2, a 5, and a 10, you could read it, and which would be perfectly fine, and we're going to learn this way as well, and it's a very ancient technique to do it this way. You can look at it as reading the 2 and then reading the 5 and then reading the 10 and reading it as a spread and then telling somebody about their life using that as a spread. Or you could read it as 2 plus 5 plus 10 is 17 and read it as a 17th. Yes. So you are right on the money. Yes. Oh, that's so cool. You were born on the 17th. Yes. And so I love how already we're starting to understand, because one of the big purposes of this class is not only dice reading, which I personally love. I think it's a fantastic way to use numerology. Not only is it really fun and really easy, but it's also a great way to start out and begin learning numerology. But once you really get good at numerology, you can see it everywhere. And one of the places that you can see it is exactly the day that you were born. Another way that you can see it is when you go outside and you and your friends go pick flowers, or you go collect rocks or something like that, and then you count how many rocks you randomly ended up with. And what does that mean about your life and about you, or about your friendship group, or whatever it is? You can use numerology in everything. In every aspect of your life, you are going to start realizing that numbers exist everywhere. You can count how many pillows you use to sleep at night, and what does that mean? how many times you wake up during the night, and what does that mean? What time you woke up at during the night, and what does that mean? And all kinds of things. Numbers are everywhere. And so you can start using numerology for everything. And it's such a cool form of divination work because it exists everywhere and you don't need any special tools to read it. No, I love all your questions. Why are you sorry, Paul? I just told you that you like jumped ahead 5 classes and that's amazing. Don't be sorry. Please keep asking questions. I love it. I also need some 17 energy right now, for sure. Yes. So with numerology, 1 plus 7 would be 8. And 8 is the number for connection. And we're about to get there. But yes, you could either read that as separately, 1 being the beginning of something, and 7 being a path. And so it would be, the beginning of a new path. Or you could read that as the number 17, or you could read that as the number 8, I'm sorry, being 1 plus 7. And that would be the number 8. And you could read that as an 8. Both ways work and both ways are correct. And both ways were used in ancient Arabia for numerology and mysticism. Oh, yes. Yes. And so you can start to notice, just like Melissa said, you can start to notice little things about yourself, such as if the temperature in the car always has to equal 10, or the total of gas that you pumped, or some people really like the TV being at a certain volume and it cannot leave that volume, or the radio in the car has to be in a certain volume, or you have to brush your hair a certain amount of times every morning. All of those things you could use numerology to kind of read in to the mysticism and what that means about you and the place in life that you're at right now. Yes, the combination of numbers is going to depend on what kind of spread you're doing. And we are going to learn about all the different types of spreads that you can do, not just with dice, but with ancient Arabic numerology in general, and what kinds of techniques and spreads were used 3,000 years ago in ancient Arabia for numerology. So, yes. Okay. So the number 8. The number 8 is connection. And it is a deep, intense, and strong connection. A lot of times people find it very difficult to read the number 8 because we are not just talking about, your favorite sweater. It would have to be like your favorite sweater that you wear every single week because your grandma gave it to you and you and her had a beautiful relationship and she died, and now it would have I know that's a terrible example, but it has to be a really, really, really deep, intense, strong connection to something. It is not just something that you really like or something that's your favorite. It is something that you have a super deep, intense connection to. And that can be a person, a place, a thing, an idea, an emotion, an action, a thought, earthly possessions, anything. Anything at all that you have an extremely deep connection to. And when balanced, this connection enhances your journey. It brings great joy into that aspect of your life. This connection makes you feel secure and safe. And when let's say that you have a special place that you are really connected to, a place that always makes you feel like you're at home, a place that you have an extremely deep connection and tie to, and every single time you go there, you know that you are going to feel joy and happiness, or that you are just going to feel it's a place that you like to gain wisdom from. It's a place that you like to gain emotional intelligence from. It is somewhere that you know that you can always go, that'll give you the lessons that you're searching for or the joy that you're searching for. When it is imbalanced, the connection is a little bit less awesome, and it can lead to obsession and guilt or just general harm. And so I feel like a lot of us can relate to those types of connections, that there's a place that anytime you drive past it, you get really horrible thoughts, or a person that you used to have a very, very, very deep, intense connection with. And now every single time you see something that reminds you of them, you are sent into deep depression or sadness or anger, um, or even an item, something that you keep, that you are obsessed with, that you have a deeply unhealthy obsession with, um, or yes. So you have one connection that brings you joy, and one connection that brings you either obsession or guilt, depression, anxiety. Um, or also, the unbalanced form of 8 can also be that you struggle to form any necessary connections in your life. Don't read this bottom part. I'm about to highlight it right now. This is only a thing in tarot. Don't read that. That's not a thing in numerology. It is, because tarot is a part of numerology, but not the type of numerology we're talking about right now. That's like only tarot. So the 8 can mean travel and that you're going on a trip and stuff, but that's tarot. Forget about that. I use this for my tarot class as well. So yeah. Hold on. I'm going to read the chat. Let's see. Yes. So once again, actually, no, Paul brings up such a wonderful point. Once again, we have the 8 that, and a really great example of this is actually tarot. Tarot happens to be something that I've been studying for the last like 25 years. So I know a lot about tarot. But the number 8 is seen 2 places in tarot. It's seen in the minor arcana, where obviously the 8 of Pentacles, the 8 of Swords, the 8 of Wands, so on and so forth. And when you read those, the 8, because the minor arcana and the numerology within the minor arcana were created in ancient Arabia and the surrounding Middle East as well. It was also in Iran and a lot of other places throughout the Middle East. But those, like the 8 of Pentacles and the 8 of Wands and Swords and so on, those mean connection. They have the exact same definition as I'm reading you right now. It's just ancient Arabic numerology. But then you have the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is also represented by another 8. And the major arcana cards were created in Italy by the Europeans. And you get this other idea of 8, where the Europeans turned it into the idea because it resembles the infinity symbol, that it was a symbol for mortality, for immortality, that it was a symbol for our connection to God, that it was a symbol for our connection to the spirit realm, to the astral realm, and that it was a symbol for our infinite place in the universe, our atoms and our particles and our infinite place within all things and our connection to all things in the universe. But that is the Italian definition, not the Arabic definition. The Arabic definition is just connection. And you could take connection, like I said, it's any connection that brings you joy. So if your connection, or that doesn't bring you joy as well, If you have an extremely deep connection to God or to the universe or to the goddess or to the gods or to the goddesses or to the astral realm or the astral plane or to any of those things, 8 can also symbolize that. But in Italian lore and Italian mythology, the 8 is represented by the infinity symbol, and that is part of the definition. Our connection to the astral realm, our connection to the gods, our connection to magic and mysticism, and to the universe itself, and our immortality and our soul. That is the strict definition of the number 8 when looking at Italian mythology. Whereas in Arabic mythology, it can mean that if you personally have that type of connection with the universe and with the astral realm and with the gods and the goddesses and so on. But if you don't have that, then the 8 for you does not mean that. Does that make sense? Okay. So, yes, thank you, Natalia. So the Hierophant, I did not mean that it is the number 8, because you're right, it is the number 5. There is, whenever you look at the Hierophant card in tarot, it always has an 8 on it, or an infinity symbol, depending on how you read that. And the reason for that is because the 8 in Italian mythology is connected to the infinity symbol. So the Hierophant is tied to the number 8, as well as the infinity symbol, as well as the number 5. Major arcana are so different than minor arcana because they were made in 2 separate parts of the world. So I didn't mean that the Hierophant necessarily only symbolized the number 8, because you're right, it also symbolizes the number 5. But there's always an infinity symbol on it, and the infinity symbol is represented by the number 8, making the Hierophant also having 8 within its mythology and within its lore and within its mysticism. Of course. Yes, the Magician also has an infinity symbol above him. The Europeans really like the infinity symbol. Or I should say the Italians. I shouldn't group them together like that. But the Italians really liked the infinity symbol, and they added it to a few cards. Another one that you tend to see it on occasionally is the High Priestess as well. The High Priestess, the Magician, the Hierophant tend to have. Sometimes you'll see it on the wheel, but not always. So, does that make sense with the number 8 in ancient Arabic mythology? Me? Aw. That's so sweet, honey. Me too. My 8s usually tend to be people. I have gotten very connected and sentimental with objects and places, but I also think too that because I lose things so easily, and because I've lost so many of my sentimental things and the things that I gain really strong connections to, because I just like lose everything I touch, I have gained less of an attachment to physical objects because I always lose them. Whereas I end up gaining a much, much, much stronger 8 connection with people than I do with places or things or emotions. Oh, here, I'll show you. That's a great question. So it actually depends on what you're asking. Because remember that 1 through 9 are Arabic numerals. So in some cases, it's written just like the 8 is written because it is an Arabic numeral. But they also have their own numerals written in their own ways as well. And I will show you. Let me pull up a graph really quick. That's actually such a great question. I would love to show that off. So thank you for asking. Here, let me show you. Okay. Because I was going to say I'll just draw it for you because I know all of my numbers in Arabic. By the way, for those of you once again who don't know, my family is from Syria and Lebanon, my entire family. And so I grew up with my grandparents speaking Arabic and my parents and so on and so forth. That's how I ended up learning all this at such a young age, is because I learned it from my family. But here, let me show you because I cannot draw it with my finger on the Zoom drawing feature. I wish I could, but I'm not that skilled. I can hardly write in Arabic when I have a pen. So you have right here, and that shows you, if I can highlight it for you, right here. And then if you look at the numeral itself, that's down here. So the numeral itself is written like that. And then this is like if you were writing out the word 8.
Any way of being able to blow that up?
Oh, yeah, to like make it bigger. Is it still too small? Here.
Yeah, it is small.
Yeah, here, ready? Hold up. Whoa. There you go. That is the numeral. And that is, so here, I'll highlight it. If it's gonna let me highlight it. Kind of. There you go.
Looks like a very difficult language to write.
It is. I cannot write in Arabic at all. I try. I'm learning. I'm trying, but written Arabic was never something that I was taught. I also was such an American. I mean, I was born in America. I was such an American little kid. I also didn't want to. I didn't want to learn the language. I didn't want to learn how to write it. You know, I was a little kid. I wanted to go play with my American friends who all spoke English, and I didn't want to learn until I became older. And then, of course, it's a million times harder to learn once you get older. Um, that's awesome. I'm sorry, Vincent. I also, funny enough, do not, here, it is, hold on. Oh, samaniyatun. Samaniyatun is 8 in Arabic. For the person who asked how to pronounce it. With my horrible American accent, though, so, you know.
Can you break that down to a slower syllabus?
Samaniyatun.
One TM1. Okay.
It's hard language. It's one that I'm still mastering. It is one that I still work every day to learn because I was dumb and didn't want to learn it when I was a kid. Okay, let me go back to, here we go. Okay. It does. It gives me water vibes too, for sure. Or air. The number 8, I feel, could be air or water. But I agree. Yes.
Used with a wand.
Ooh, I could see that too. Okay. I was just making sure I answered all the questions. Okay. Cool. So, as we move on to, it's fog. It's got the juice. So number 9. So number 9 is so it is the means to an end. So it is whatever you are doing, whether it's the path that you're on, the journey of life, even. Remember, as we get to the 9s and the 10s, we are also getting to the numbers that represent death, the numbers that represent the end of human life, the numbers that represent, they can also just represent like moving to a new house, and this is your, last week in the house that you will never live in ever again. That can also be represented by the number 9. It can also be represented by, this is your last month on the planet Earth. Or as a human on the planet Earth, depending on what you believe. It can also represent the ending of your vacation, the ending of your job, the end of school, the end of a relationship, the end of a friendship, the end of love, the end of your pet's life, the end of lots of things. It is the end. So, yes. What a fantastic observation, Vincent. Exactly. I love that you brought that up. Yep. And that's actually a really, really huge theory when kind of analyzing ancient Arabic folklore and ancient Arabic mysticism, is the number 9 being the end, because that's how long it takes human beings before it's their end of being inside their mom's womb or their parents' womb. So the end is in sight. You are almost at the end of your journey, whether it be graduation, a promotion, the end of a grieving cycle, or you are almost done with an idea. You have thought it out and are about ready to start acting on it. However, you are not quite at the end yet. There are still some things you need to do and experience. That's why I said the last week in your house, the last moments. So just like this would be the last moments of pregnancy, it would be the last moments of your time on Earth, your last month, it is, you are still doing it. You have not finished yet, but you're right about to be done. Almost. If the 9 is balanced, it means you are ready for the end. Everything is lined up and you are ready. You are prepared. If the 9 is imbalanced, you are not ready. You see the end, you know it's coming, and you are trying so hard to hold on and not let the end happen. You are not ready for it. Or that the end will not be what you expected. Or you don't even know the end is coming. So the imbalanced 9 is anything at all other than you being ready and excited for the end. Anything. If you are not ready for the end to come, it is imbalanced. If you do not know that the end is coming, then it's imbalanced. If you are unprepared for the end, it is imbalanced. Anything other than being ready and excited, not necessarily excited, but ready and at peace with the fact that the end is coming. You are at peace with the fact that the end is coming. You know it's coming, and you have come to terms with that. And sometimes, like my example with the new house or the new job, and you're excited for your old job to end and to start the new job, or excited for, to move into your new house and for this old house to be done with. Sometimes you are excited. Sometimes you're just at peace with it, like dying. Or, all of the things that the end can symbolize that might not be things that we are super excited for, but that we are at peace with. So it can also be about accomplishment as well. When you aren't quite finished with what you're doing, you are very close to the goal, but the end is just out of reach and you're not there yet, but you're very excited for the end. You know the end is coming when it's balanced, and it's just out of reach, but you're almost there. Okay, I'm going to read the chat. Yep, death, different stages to the acceptance of death. Exactly. Yes, exactly, Paul. And then Vincent, there's also a mathematical theory that 0 equals 1 and 1 equals 0. That would break math if it were true. You, Yes. No, and that's wonderful. And that is the exact, because ancient Arabia and ancient Middle East, like the ancient Middle Eastern region, one of the things that they're known for is that type of mathematical theory. They're known for having some of the greatest mathematicians ever known to the world. A lot of times, once again, in the Western world, we tend to discuss and talk about the European men who did really cool mathy things. But a lot of them were inspired by the mathematicians in the Middle East, the ones who, number one, created numbers in general. Yes, you have Roman numerals, but like nobody does math with Roman numerals. Okay, numbers started in the Middle East. Math started in the Middle East. Arabic numerals are what we use today for math every day. The Arabic numerals are the numbers you see on your screen and in your textbooks, and all that. Those are all Arabic numerals. And mathematicians in the Middle East are known for having really cool theoretical math debates and discussions, very similar to the one that Vincent brought up. And I love that you brought that up. And a lot of times the number 10 is even debated, that it is just a 1 and a 0, and that because 0 doesn't truly exist, or does it, that it is just a 1. And you're going to see that as soon as we get to the number 10, how it is literally just a 1. It's just a 1 with a placeholder attached to it at the end. That's all it is. And you're going to see that as soon as we move on to the number 10, that the number 10 is just the number 1, but with a placeholder in front of it. And 0, of course, was really and truly discussed and kind of created, I guess, in a sense, but more of like the theoretical math behind the number 0 was North Africa. But of course, North Africa and the Middle East are connected and have a lot of similar history and past. And you can see where a lot of Middle Easterners were inspired by the Egyptians, and the Egyptians were inspired by the Arabs, and so on and so forth, not only with math, numbers, numerology, and mysticism, but also just with language and culture and architecture as well. Yes, 0 is represented by the Fool. But 0 exists in tarot only in the much. So when we talk about tarot, the minor arcana were created about 3,000 years ago, around there, sometime like 2,800 years ago, somewhere in there. Whereas the major arcana were created much later, much after that. First, the Europeans had to come to the Middle East and trade with them and talk to them and think that their really cool tarot idea was awesome. And then they had to go take it to Europe. And then Italy had to go create a whole bunch of new cards for it and create a whole different reading system. And then you have the Fool. And the Fool is represented by the number 0, but there are no zeros in the minor arcana from the Middle East. There are only zeros. The only 0 is the Fool, which is represented by the major arcana, which came from Italy. So, yeah. So, does anybody have any questions about the 9 before we move on to the 10, which everything you guys have said already is so cool because you already pretty much know the definition of the number 10, because number 1, what Vincent said, and what a lot of you have already said about 10 just being a 1 with a placeholder. So, the number 10 means that you have reached it. You're the end. It is the end. It's done. It's over. But as soon as it's over, not right after it's over. The second it's over, it begins again. It is just a 1. The 10 is that you finished. You are done with your journey. So if we use the same example that I was kind of using for the 9, the 9 being, let's use the house example, that you bought a new house, because it's simple. We don't have to go into a lot of theoretical ideas. You're moving into a new house. The 9 would be your last week in that house. The 10 is the first day in the new house. So you are already done. The old house is gone. The old house is finished and done with, and now you are at day 1 in your new house. So it is represented by the end, but also by the beginning. So 10 is a mixture. 10 is 1, but it's also not. Because it is both represented by the end and the beginning all at the same time. Yes. 9 is represented by different portals. Yes, and we're actually going to get into that. After we kind of master and really get the hang of what these numbers mean within ancient Arabic numerology, we're going to start talking about the different theories and also the different forms of spells, mysticism, astral projection, alchemy, and all the different ways that these numbers have been used. And that includes different portals and different portal keys. Yes. We are going to get there, but not yet. We aren't there yet. So the number 10, you have completely finished your journey. It is done. And balanced, you have reached the end. You are enjoying the fruits of your labor. You completed your goal. You feel very good about yourself, and you are ready to start the new thing. And to start something new, you have left the other thing behind. You are happy with the fact that it's done, and you are ready to start the new thing. When it's imbalanced, your journey still ended. It always ended. 10 is always the end. But you are unhappy with the outcome. You're unhappy that it ended. It ended in an unexpected way. And you wish that it wasn't over, which means that because it is also the beginning of something new, that you're not ready to move on. And you aren't going to embrace the new because you are still going to be holding on so tightly to the thing that's gone that you cannot hold on to anymore. It's already gone, and you cannot hold on. You cannot do anything about it. It's already gone. So all that's going to do is make the new thing much harder. It's time. 10 is the closure of the current part of your life, making way for the beginning of the next. The end can leave you feeling exhausted, blissful, accomplished. The cycle will start again. To maintain what you've gained, you must take what you've experienced this time around and use it to your advantage during the next journey and the next cycle. Yes, definitely. So, 9 can definitely represent a rest period before 10. Yes, that is a wonderful way of looking at it, actually. It is the rest period before 10 where you finish and start up right away. And so yes, honey, definitely. Yep, yes, Paul. Yep. And then okay. The 10 of Wands, Natalia. So the 10 of Wands is going to be Wands is represented by fire. Fire is represented by action. It is represented by all of the actions that you make every single day that make up everything about your life and about you and about who you are. It is every single action and reaction that you make in every moment of your life. So 10 would be the end of an action and the beginning of a new action in very basic terms. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more I could go into, but in very basic terms, it is the ending of a series of actions or the ending of an action and the start of a new action or being, yeah. That is the very basic definition. Of course, no problem. So does all that make sense? And does anybody have any questions before I go we review some of the other numbers? And I'm going to do something fun to have us review the other numbers because I know a lot of you have already heard me go on a spiel. So instead, we're going to play a quiz game. Because a lot of you have already been to the first class, so you should already know the definitions of the numbers. So instead, I would like to have you guys answer. So we're going to play a quiz game. So here is how the quiz game is going to work. Yes, should. It's fine if you don't. That's what the quiz game is for. If you don't remember the stuff that we went over last class, totally fine. This quiz game will help you review. I just figured it would be more fun than just hearing me lecture about the numbers all over again. So, first of all, I'm going to have this up too to make it easier for you. So it's not like, or actually, let's try it without. Let's not. Let's first try it like this. And if it starts being that nobody knows the answer, I'll pull up the screen and then you guys can answer like that. So Here's how the quiz game will work. I am going to yell out a number, and in the chat or out loud, whichever you prefer, I would like you to tell me the definition of that number. And remember, like I said before, it's fine if you have just memorized what I said and you say it back. That's totally fine. Awesome. You will get the right answer. That's cool. But if you don't really remember what I said and you're not really trying to just memorize what I said, which is also totally fine and wonderful, give me your own definition. What, based on everything you've learned in these last 2 classes, what is your definition for that number? That is also fine and wonderful, and you will get the answer right. And we can play for points. I'll keep track of people's points just for funsies. And we can have a winner. Let me open up my notes app so I can keep track of points. Okay, here we go. So, number 2. What does the number 2 mean?
Partnership.
Awesome. Keep going. Elaborate.
Decision.
Yes.
Determining the point of your journey, I think, is what I wrote down.
Cool. Okay. So for that one, remember, you can go as deep into it as you want. You don't, you can give me a big, full, long definition if you would like to. But the points are going to go to Paul and Honey, only because I am not saying that anybody else was wrong. There is no wrong. But specifically in ancient Arabic numerology, the definition for the number 2 is a decision, a crossroads, a question. Questioning things, having to sit there and weigh options to make a decision. Now, a lot of times, those decisions that you are trying to make tend to be about other people and about partners and about relationships and about love. And therefore, the 2 gets a reputation of being about partnership, love, relationships, things like that. But at its core, that is not the definition. That can be part of the definition, but the definition at its core is decisions, crossroads, and questions. And meeting a fork in the road in your journey and having to make a decision. Now, like I said, a lot of times that decision is about the other people in your life when it comes to the 2. So a lot of times it's associated with partnership. Yes. So
Do you
Honey,
think we could get a half a point?
yes, great idea.
Okay.
So
Sounds fair.
it does. I agree. So we have Honey with 1 point, Paul with 1 point, Andrea.
Have a point.
Yep, with 0.5. Here will be 0.5.
I think somebody else mentioned it too.
Yep, I'm looking back through the chat, and well, Natalia, I would say, well, you can have a half a point too, because I could see an unbalanced 2 there. So Natalia with also 0.5. Cool. All right. And female energy, once again, which is totally fine. Wonderful answer. That would be the European, very Roman numerology, which is awesome. But female energy being represented by the 2 is Roman numerology, not Arabic numerology, but still numerology and still wonderful and a great a great form of lure and mythology and mysticism as well, just not Arabic. Okay, next, the number 1.
Beginnings.
Yes. Keep going.
I have manifestation of ideas, thoughts, or processes.
Yes. Beautiful. Yep. Natalia, yes. Honey, yes. Both of those, beautiful. Yes. Natalia gets a point. Plus 1.
But I also have the reverse, which I've underlined for some reason, which is the beginning of something that is not of benefit.
Yes. Beautiful. Yes. So 1 being represented, beautiful. And I love how you said that because you described, and I'm so sorry, you described Roman numerology so well. And it's beautiful, and Greek as well. That is so Greek and Roman, and it's gorgeous to be represented by masculine energy and leadership, and then kind of the imbalanced form being arrogance and kind of being full of yourself and cocky. Yes, and that is beautiful Greek and Roman numerology, but not Arabic. Okay. So now we have Honey with 2 points, Paul with 2 points, Andrea with 1.5, and Natalia with 1.5. Awesome. Everybody feel free to jump in if you would like to. But moving on. The number 4. What does the number 4 mean?
Balance.
Yes.
Stability.
Yes.
A table.
Yes. Yeah.
I've got, and this is written down, grounding, rest, stability.
Yes. Beautiful.
I'm going
Also
off the
boredom.
top of my head there, Paul. I have no notes in front of me, but it's just what I
I'm
remember.
I'm impressed.
I'm impressed with myself too.
Well, I also, Andrea, you've come to my tarot classes too, so I feel like you've learned this a few times.
No, I never went to your tarot classes at all.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, I totally thought you were there. You're just in so
No,
many classes that I'm
I
like,
know the tarot or numerology, neither one.
okay. And then I love how I think it was Honey, and Honey said boredom, which, yes, the imbalanced 4 being boredom. Yes. Awesome. And then we have Natalia. I actually
I
have not heard that one in numerology before. That doesn't mean that it's not true at all. I'm sure it is. It's probably from a country or a culture that I have not studied yet.
I also have written down outside the box, time to go seek,
Yes.
which I'm thinking means I need to start a new project, maybe.
Yes, because
Something I wouldn't normally do, i.e. outside the box.
exactly. And I feel like that's a response to the imbalanced 4. The imbalanced 4 represents stagnation, boredom, complacency, and just becoming so comfortable in your routine, so comfortable in rest, in your resting period, that you become stagnant. And then it's time to jump out of the box and to do something different and something new, and to help balance out that imbalanced four. Yes.
It reminds me of a committee. You've got four corners in a group of people.
Yes, that's what Natalia said. Yeah. And I can totally see that. It's not something that I've ever had the four represent, because actually the four is a very special number, where even in Greek and Roman and Italian and Celtic and Norse mythology, they always have it mean stability, structure, rest, and routine, and all of the things that would kind of define structure and rest. You see throughout Europe and the Middle East and Africa as well. Africa, the Middle East, and all of Europe, I've never read anything where the four was changed at all. It always means structure, stability, rest, all those things. So, but I can definitely see it meaning things like company and people and a committee and things like that. And so that makes sense. I'm not disagreeing. I just haven't studied it meaning that. And there are so many different countries and cultures out there that I'm sure it's just something I haven't read. And yes, Paul.
Okay. Just because you've used the word a couple of times, I'm going to bring it up. Alchemy.
Yes.
When we think of if you go on the 12-stage process, the fourth stage would be solution,
Ooh.
right? So you get to fixation, and then you move on to solution before you move on to digestion.
Oh yeah, that makes so much sense too.
So I'm thinking alchemy brain again, but I just thought I'd throw it out there because you've mentioned alchemy a couple of times, so that was my kind of foot in the door.
Yes, which makes perfect sense. And honestly, we are going to look at alchemy from a numerology standpoint. And so that will be one of the things that we're looking at. And so I love that you brought that up. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about the definition of the four and solution. I love that. Yes. Awesome. All right. So yes, that is the four.
It sounds like almost like a digestive tract.
It does. Yes. Okay. The number 3. Ready, set, go. We already actually talked about this in this class. So, yeah. The number 3.
Personal accomplishment?
Yes.
I have fresh start written.
A fresh start.
Fresh start with a new goal.
No, I was trying really, really hard to see if I could give you that one and kind of like mesh it into, but no, because the 3, you would have to have already made the decisions required because the 2 has already passed. And the 1 is going to be the new idea.
Yeah, of course, it's combination of 1 and 3. Yeah, Arabian math, here we go.
Yep, exactly. It's a combination of 1 and 2. And so 1 being the new idea and the new journey, the new car, the new job, whatever it is, starting something new, 2 reaching the point in your journey where you reach a crossroads and there are decisions that you need to make and choices that you need to make, and 3, reaching your personal accomplishment and accomplishing a lot of the different goals that are required to accomplish if you are going to reach the end of your journey and make it to 10.
So because we're talking of 1 and 3, that would be individual success, correct?
Yeah, so it's the 1 and 2. So 1 and 2
Yeah.
put together would be 3. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep. So the unbalanced 3, is going to be much like we talked about with the 6. So it's going to be either A, you did not accomplish the goal. The goal was not accomplished, and you have to go back to 1 and 2. Either go back to 2 and figure out what went wrong at the crossroads and what decisions you made that maybe you didn't make the right decisions, maybe you didn't make the right choices, or luck got in the way and you just got trampled by life and by luck and you did not accomplish your goal and it was not your fault at all. You just happened to fail because luck got in the way, and sometimes that's just life.
Alex, can I try to redeem myself here?
Yeah.
We're cheating.
Oh, okay. With the negative, like what you were talking about, sometimes this is what I've written, pretty much verbatim. Sometimes we have to have a -3 to relook at an idea from a different point of view to achieve it.
True. All right. I can give that to you. All right. Very true. I can give that to you. You get 0.5.
Can I tell a little bit of story here on this?
Yes, always.
It's a person who buys a car, so he's starting out, and he has this new car, and he picks up his wife, so the two of them are in the car, and they're in a partnership, and they end up at a crossroads, whereas it's number 3. So they have a direction forward, or direction to the left, or direction to the right.
Yes. Yeah,
That was deep.
it was. No, that is amazing. I love that.
Any points?
No, that was beautiful. No, that was beautiful, and I totally agree.
Give Andrea my half point.
I already gave Andrew. She already got a full point.
Oh, Paul, you're so kind.
Aw. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. We have Honey. Wait. How does she have 5 points if we've only gone through 4 numbers? Okay, hold on. I don't know.
We've gone through all 5, I think, haven't we?
No, because I haven't done 5 yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, weird. Okay, so Honey has 4 points. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Paul has 3.5. Andrea has 3.5, and Natalia has 1.5. Very good, everybody. Very good.
Jokingly, maybe you got a vibe of me already having typed out the answer for 5 in chat.
Yes, my favorite number. All right. That's okay. I'm sorry, Miss Adams. That sucks. I know. My internet died during the last class, or like my computer crashed. So it causes internet's no fun. It is. Internet is actually really fun, but it's no fun when it malfunctions. Okay, the number 5. What does it mean, everybody? Yes! And Honey gets it. So
Disaster.
Yes! Beautiful.
My life.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I was on mute and I was laughing my head off, Paul.
Yep, that is, yeah. So, yeah, yes. Miss Adams, yes. Oh, hey, Miss Adams joins in. She gets a point. Here, add you to the list.
But
Okay.
can I just point out that chaos is sometimes needed in order to get to where you need to be?
Exactly.
Everything is destroyed and everything is created.
That would be the Tower card.
Yes. So, once we have gone through the number 1 and we have manifested our idea, we now have an idea with the number 1. We have started our journey. And with the number 2, we have reached a crossroads where we need to make some decisions and some choices. Number 3, we have made our choices and our decisions, and we ended up with personal accomplishment. Number 4, we took some time to rest. We took some time to gain some stability because we've been through a lot. We started a journey, we made a lot of decisions, we made some personal accomplishments, and now we are at a point of rest. To not only rest and recharge, but to also rest and think about all the decisions that we made, the accomplishments that we made, the journeys that we've taken, and we are seeking stability. We are seeking rest, routine, being able to do the same thing every day and not work towards anything. We are just taking time to reflect and to have introspection and to breathe. And then if you cannot stay in the 4 for too long because still water becomes stagnant. So after the 4, you get to 5 because, and it's not bad. When I say chaos and when we say even disaster and we say craze and we say, these things, this is not bad because in order to reach the 6, the huge giant number of accomplishment and joy and happiness and freedom and of all these beautiful things that we get from accomplishing our dreams and our goals and our aspirations. And also the 6 represents helping your community to grow and helping your everybody around you to also be healthy and happy and enlightened and wise and all these different things. In order to do that, you have to go through the chaos. And sometimes the chaos is just pulling all-nighters so that you can ace the tests and the exams in college or in school or in, whatever you're doing. And sometimes the chaos is working 15 hours a day so that you can get the money that you need so that you can do the things that you want. Sometimes it is staying up for 4 days straight so that you can write your book or your novel. Or sometimes it is just going through absolute hell in a chaotic, horrible relationship so that you know that that is not what you want out of life. But in order to do anything that you really, really, really want to do that is important to you, there is going to be some chaos. It's just going to happen. You need the chaos. The chaos is required for the destruction is required for rebirth. And it is just how life works. So
it's like a community coming together after a tornado. This is what
yes,
happened here.
exactly. And for the community to come together and to help each other and for you to realize how wonderful the community around you is, sometimes you need to go through a tornado to realize how wonderful the people are around you. Or even going through just anything that you go through that is extremely chaotic. A lot of times out of that you realize the community that you have around you. So hold on, there's lots of things being said in the chat. Yes, dice are alchemy. Yes. Some of the most beautiful things come and came from chaos. Exactly. Actually, I would argue to say all of the beautiful things came from chaos. All of them. All of the things. Whether that be the planet Earth itself. I mean, if you think about the history of the planet Earth, well, okay, I guess unless you believe in like a singular, like monotheistic creator, in which case I guess I don't really know the story of the Bible, but I feel like there was chaos there. So, like, even then.
The
But
earth came from chaos.
the earth came from chaos, no matter really what you believe. Whether, you know, you believe in the Big Bang, that was chaos. Whether, you know, all of the history of the earth is chaos. The history of your birth is chaos. It is painful and chaotic, and there was screaming involved. There is the everything, every single thing that exists in our universe. Chaos was part of its creation. Always, no matter what it is. Yes, the number 6, as we discussed and talked about, is community accomplishment. And accomplishing something, group accomplishment. And whether that be something beautiful for the community, and 6 is a representation of remembering that how important it is to have community, that nothing can be done alone. Yes, yep. The earth destroyed life on it multiple times. Many, 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 many times. Yes. And childbirth. Yep, exactly. Yes. And all of these things were born from chaos. Chaos is so important. There's a reason it's my favorite number. And yes, also, I will say, if you are somebody who is going to dive deep into working with numerology in more than just dice and divination work, and you are going to add it to, if you are somebody who does spell work, if you are somebody who does alchemy, if you are somebody who works in the astral realm, if you are somebody who does very esoteric work, and you decide to work with numerology, and you fall in love with 5, the way that I have fallen in love with the number 5. It's my all-time favorite number. It's what I use for everything. Remember that even though chaos is beautiful, and chaos is lovely and wonderful, there are definitely some times where maybe work with 3. Maybe switch it up a bit. Maybe don't always work with 5, even if 5 becomes your favorite number. Because I am somebody who always works with 5, and I end up in life in some situations that maybe could have been avoided if I decided to just work with the number 3 instead. So, oh wow. You know, honestly, I am somebody who absolutely despises math. I did terrible in math in college and high school and middle school and all of the schools. And I still to this day cannot do easy and simple multiplication in my head. But numerology is, and the math included in alchemy and in numerology, is some of my all-time favorite things, like thing to do with magic. So I don't know, mystic math is different. So okay, you really are brilliant, Vincent. You really are. I'm absolutely loving having you in this class. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, The Witcher, unleash the chaos. Exactly, I love The Witcher. Tarot exams for certifications on Zoom, or you send by email. So tarot exams, so for those of you who are working towards certifications at the Academy, the tarot exams are done not on Zoom. They are done, we can do it by email if you would like. I usually do it more on like messenger type apps. So whether that be just like messenger through Facebook, or Discord. I used to do all the exams on Discord. Whatever messenger app you use that you are most comfortable with, that's how we will do the exam. I don't want the added extra pressure of having to be on the spot with me. That's not needed. If it takes you like 5.5 hours to answer one of the questions, that's fine. It's all just done through typing. You just type out the answers to me and take as long as you need. Of course, always. I love that, Vincent. I'm very much like that too. I love the way your brain works. You really are brilliant. I'm so happy you're in this class. Thank you. So, yes. So, we already did 6 and 7. Okay, so we're done with the quiz. Hold on. Everybody who said chaos and stuff gets a point. Remember, this was just for fun. The quiz did not mean anything, by the way, just in case anybody was worried. So we have Honey with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. We have Paul. Wait, once again, how did I do that? We didn't go over 6 numbers. I keep giving Honey an extra point. Okay, we have Honey with 5 points. We have Paul with 1, 2, 3, 4.5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4.5 points for Andrea as well. So, congratulations, honey. You won the quiz. Good job. I wish I had a prize, but I don't.
Good job, honey.
Yay! You did. You beat Paul. Good job.
Thank you.
Yes. Good. Yeah, that's what the quiz was for. The quiz was a fun way to review all the numbers. So I'm so glad it worked for you, Lindsay. That's awesome. Is it Lindsay or Lindsay? I think it's Lindsay. I think that's how you spell it, just like Lindsay.
It's Lindsay. It's just spelled funny.
Cool. No, that's awesome. I love your name. But awesome. Thank you. So cool. So yeah, that was a fun way to recap all the numbers. So now everybody knows all the numbers. And actually, which I wasn't expecting. Okay, now we have a choice. You guys can make the decision. Would you guys like to do some dice reading, or should we save dice reading for the next class, because it is really late at night now and the class technically has run its course and it has been 2 hours.
Can we start at another time, because it's 11:30 here at night and it's late?
Yes. So next class, we are going to start with reading each other. So here is, I'm going to stop the recording. Hold on.